Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Sisters on BET. We are at season 2, episode 12, which is the winter finale, mid-season finale, something along those lines. I've seen something that said mid-season. I saw something that said winter. Um, let's just say mid-season because I don't know. All I know is that it's coming back and we got more episodes. So let's just jump right into the shenanigans. I'm trying not to be um, too long on these videos. Also want to apologize if you hear a little bit of noise in the background. These people are already popping fireworks, even though it's the day after Christmas. I've also already had some libations, so my speech might be a little slow, but mind your business. You just here to talk about sisters. All right, so let's jump right into it. Um, Going back to episode 11, Maurice had left Sabrina at the scene of the crime where Alonzo was on the ground on his deathbed, and they went back to see if he was dead or alive. So he goes back to his house, and Sabrina calls him. No, he calls Sabrina. He done left the girl at the scene of the crime, and he has the nerve to call her and say, hey, I just want to make sure, is he really dead? What's up? What's going on? Am I going to jail? What's about to happen? And she tells him that, yeah, you finna go to jail. You should be ashamed of yourself. You left me out here with this man, blah, blah, blah. I called the ambulance, and, I think he's dead, and the police are on the way to where you live. I had to give him your information. And he was like, you should have kept your mouth shut. Why you told him where I live, whatever. I mean, I don't mind going to jail, but I don't want to go, basically. So there's a knock on the door, and he getting real nervous. Like, I answer the door. Sabrina's on the phone with them at the same time. And she's saying, go to the door. Don't be scared now. You done beat this man up. Whatever. Go to the door. And he opens the door, and of course, it's Sabrina. It's not the cops. She called the ambulance, and the ambulance kind of patched him up and sent him on his way, sent him home. So Sabrina says, I'm still drunk, and I'm finna go to bed. So I ain't got no more time for no more shenanigans on this day. So, Sabrina stumbles back to the back room. She goes to sleep. Now that we've determined that Alonzo isn't dead, and we can move on with our lives. I mean, I wouldn't have cried if he was dead, but he ain't dead. All right, cool, whatever. All right, so Maurice was relieved. He ain't got to go to jail, but he don't really want to share the bed with Sabrina. But at this point, she's already decided she's staying, so she's just here. All right, so Karen and Aaron, they get to Andy's, and she's sitting in the bed, and she's kind of out of it, or just kind of numb to what's just taking place. So she's just kind of sitting there. She's staring off into the distance, and Karen wants to know, what did Gary do? What happened to you? Like what's the details? Give me everything that happened. And Andy claims, oh, it was nothing. Still protecting Gary. Nothing happened. He just got upset. Blah blah blah. And Karen confronts her with, no. I overheard him talking to Aaron, and he said that he did something really bad to you. So what did he do to you? So we can go ahead and file charges and get this road on the show. I know it's a show on the road, but I say road on the show because I know what I want to know. All right, so and we know that he didn't hit her, but he did something to her. But at this point, they don't know what she did, so they're trying to get the information out of Andy. Karen's trying to get the information out of Candy. Karen is trying to get the information out of Andy. And so she confronts him with the information with what she overheard on the phone call with Aaron. And, she finally tells him the whole truth, that he squeezed her a little bit too hard. He was upset about the situation, but it's okay. Basically, trying to minimize the situation. I'm all right. It's going to be all right. And Karen tells her, we've heard little remnants of her being in an abusive relationship in the past, and Karen tells her, you've been in this situation before. Stop protecting him, because the last man almost killed you. So in the last domestic situation, Andy almost lost her life and did not learn a lasting lesson, because she's going through the same shit with Gary yet again. So she tells her, even though he didn't beat you up or anything like that, it's still considered abuse. And Andy is just not wrapping her head around the fact like she was abused, or potentially, attempted homicide, whatever the term may be. He tried to kill you. He knew he was squeezing you too tight. He know he's bigger than you. In a court of law, it would have been attempted murder, in my opinion. All right, so she she lets me know that she passed out from him squeezing her too hard, but she's okay. And once Karen learns all the information, Karen tells her, all right, let's go. We're about to go to the emergency room. We're about to file charges and all this other good stuff. And, of course, Andy, she doesn't want to go. She just wants to go to sleep and just deal with all of this tomorrow. And Karen tells her, you deserve better. And Andy is resigned to the fact of whatever negative repercussions she's suffering at the hands of Gary is something she earned because Gary was married. So she figures, I messed with a married man, knowing that he was married. This is what I deserve. Basically, this is my karma. This is my retribution for still messing with a married man. And Karen tells her, okay, no matter what the situation was, you still don't deserve to be almost killed. You don't deserve to be abused out of the situation. And Andy's listening, but I don't think she's hearing, if that makes sense. So Andy says she feels bad for Jasmine, so she's basically beating herself up about it again, just making an excuse as to why Gary is trash, and she thinks she deserves whatever comes of the situation. And she begs Karen, she's like, I really don't want to go to the hospital. I want to do all of that. Just let me get a good night's rest, and we will tackle all of this in the morning. And Karen's like, okay, cool, but I'm gonna stay the night with you. I'm gonna stay here with you. We're gonna figure this out tomorrow. We're gonna go to the bank, give him his money, and be done with the situation. But you're not staying by yourself. I'm staying here, and I'm just gonna tell Aaron to go back to my apartment, and we're gonna figure this out tomorrow. So she tells Aaron to go, and she also tells him, since Gary's your little Bible study buddy or whatever, however y'all know each other, give him a message from me and tell him to stay away from Andy. And Aaron is like, okay, I'll tell him. Blah blah blah. Whoop. Oh no, I'm falling. You guys are falling. Okay. All right. So in this episode, Karen gets the golden nugget. She's the star for jumping in and kind of being the sensible one this episode and doing all she can to help Andy out. We'll get more examples of that later on in the review, but we're gonna move on. All right, so Aaron is at the hospital. He's talking to Gary because Gary didn't die. He just crashed his car. He wrecked his car, and Aaron tells him, hopefully the cops don't know you're drinking, or they're going to take you back to jail, or whatever the situation is. And somehow the cops have figured out, somehow or another, the cops are standing outside. They're posted up, and whatever's going to happen, Gary's going back to jail automatically. He doesn't care if he goes back to jail, whatever. He just wants his money back. He just wants to get back to Andy. Blah, blah, blah. Whoop-de-whoop. So, he doesn't want Aaron to ask him any more questions because Aaron still wants to know, like, how did we get here? What's going on in your mind? Like, talk to me. Let me know. Let me give you some guidance, some counsel. Let's talk about the Lord. Blah, 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 blah. And so Gary tells him, stop asking me all those questions. I know what's going on. And then in the same breath, ask him to bail him out because the cops are sitting outside until basically the hospital clears him to go. You're going to go straight to jail. You're not going to collect $200. And while you don't want to hear what Aaron has to say, you ask this man to, in the same breath, bail you out of jail because you're going to jail as soon as you get cleared to the hospital. And Aaron obliges. I wouldn't be able to oblige you, my guy. Because first of all, you almost killed this girl, and I know you almost killed this girl, and we cool or whatever in the men's choir. We know each other, but I ain't gonna be able to bail you out. And I don't know how well or how long Gary and Aaron have known each other, but I'm gonna assume they don't know each other well enough for you to be bailing him out. Because obviously he's shown you that he's willing to break bail. If he's willing to crash his car, almost kill his girl, child, your little bail money ain't gonna stop him from being a criminal. He ain't gonna stop him from being crazy at this point. So I wouldn't have been willing to bail this goddamn ass out, but you can, Aaron. I wouldn't have been able. All right, so he agrees to bail him out. Wonderful. Moving right along. Karen shows up at Maurice's with the first and last month's rent in hand, and they're just talking, and Maurice is trying to get information about last night about the woman that Karen was with. He's trying to get it out of him so that Sabrina can hear because Sabrina's in the back room because she stayed the night at Maurice's. And he tells him about the girl and not being able to perform. And Maurice is like, okay, this ain't the information I want you to give me. Just don't give me no details about another woman. And just be quiet. Basically, Sabrina in the back, Maurice didn't tell him that, but he's like, all right, I wanted the information, but not like this because I don't want Sabrina to hear about you talking about another girl. So Sabrina walks out of the room. She's still kind of hungover, so she's in and out of it. She wasn't really paying attention to the conversation. So she stumbles out and she goes home because she's still kind of hungover. She don't really want to talk to nobody because she got morning breath, and she's like, okay. Calvin was like, I'll go. She's like, no, I'll go because I got to go home, and get myself together. I got morning breath. I don't really want to talk to y'all. Goodbye. May the force be with you. Awkward. All right, whatever. So she leaves, and Marge tells Calvin that she was there, upset about him being on a date with someone else, and basically they're both being childish about the situation because they like each other. They both want to commit, but they're both afraid. So instead of having the conversations with each other, they've been getting all these other people involved and just not really saying what they need to say to each other. And we learned that Calvin is just as afraid as Sabrina to commit or being hurt or wasting time and all these other things that everybody else in the relationship are afraid to do. Anybody want a cookie? Great. Moving right along. If you can't tell, this whole Calvin and Sabrina situation is way too dramatic for me. Either you gonna say it or you ain't gonna say it. It is what it is. It's just a lot. Anyway, back at Danny's, she's trying to leave for work, but Cowboys made her breakfast, and he wants her to sit down and eat, and so she obliges. And she says she wants to see where he works one day, and they agree on tomorrow being the following day being the pre-appointed day for her to shadow him at work to see what he does, a day in the life of Cowboy. And to me, that was soon, considered they had just reset their boundaries and reacquainted themselves with each other after you had been with the booty bandit bartender. But okay, girl, we'll go with it if you say so. And so there's a knock on the door, and it's Zach, and Cowboy's like, "Child, y'all figure it out. I'm gonna go to work. I'll talk to y'all later. Good day, goodbye." Cowboy goes to work, and Zach wants to take a shower. He wants to take a shower because he has stayed at the construction site all night working. We know you're not working. We know you don't want to face Fatima, or you don't want to lose Fatima by way of Hayden's threats from the prior episode, but working. You've been working all night at the construction site. And then it's like, all right, you got a car that you can't explain. You working, but you don't have a place to stay. Whatever you're doing, whether you're selling drugs or whatever it is that you're doing, don't take it. Don't go back to jail. Just do that. This is what Danny's telling Zach. Like, just don't go back to jail, please. Just do me that solid. And she also tells him, which is very good information, Zach, whatever you're doing, just make sure you're not doing it for Karen. Make sure you're doing it for yourself, to get yourself in line. And he agrees. They agree on that. Wonderful. Merry Christmas. So he finally vocalizes and realizes Karen has moved on. So it's time for him. He says he still loves her, but he knows that she's moved on. So it's time for him to do the same. I agree. And I'm glad for the revelation because, child, that back and forth dynamic as well was making me tired in my spirit, man. So we're going to move on. All right. So the next day, Andy is up and she's dressed and she's ready to get to the bank and get the situation over with Gary to give him his money back. Karen doesn't think that she goes to the bank. She thinks that Andy should give her the money and, coordinate it through her by way of third party because she knows that Andy is strong until it comes to a man. So Candace's like, okay, you can settle this on your own, but I'm also still going to the bank with you. So again, stand out. Round of applause for you, Karen, for not letting her be in that situation alone, not letting her be alone with Gary, because we now know he has a history and a tendency and a propensity for violence. Okay, moving on. We get to the bank, and everybody's going to end up at the bank at some point throughout this transaction. Sabrina's talking to the new guy. He pulls out a rose and gives it to her. Asks her to go out sometimes, and she says no because she shouldn't mix professional with personal life, and gives him his rose back. Um, Alonzo shows up at the bank after this uber awkward interaction, and he's there to say he's sorry. Um, he is giving the tear-felt apology that I'm sure Maurice may have appreciated in the prior interaction before he had to beat your ass. So he's there to say, with a tearful apology, that his lawyer says if he gets charged with a hate crime, he could lose everything, and he just gives a compelling apology for all of his actions, and says that he'll go to counseling, he'll go to anger management, and he ain't gonna do no more. He gonna be good, blah blah blah. And Maurice hears everything he says, and his rebuttal is that he wants no parts of it, the apology, or dropping the charges, or dropping the hate crime charges that he's facing, because while you have this long list of things that you could have possibly done, I need you to take into account that Maurice was in a coma for days. He's had to do some sort of rehab. He's going to have some kind of post-traumatic stress associated with it. There's just a lot that came from your hate crime and your inability to see somebody else's way of life. So now your way of life is affected. Now you want to have compassion and concern and care. No, go ahead and lose everything that you're going to lose. Be charged with a hate crime. And in today's climate, of course, you probably going to get the book thrown at you. Hopefully, we'll see. Whatever. But and Maurice is like, no, I'm not. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. And as Alonzo is leaving, the new dude daps him up like, hey, Alonzo, what up? Da 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 da. And so Sabrina's looking at him kind of side-eyed, like, how do you know him? And he claims that he knows him just from around the city, hanging out in the hood, whatever, around the way, on the block. Whatever. He just knows him by way of knowing him, just by being out and about in the city. And he can't really believe that Alonzo would have the propensity to do something so heinous to someone. But Sabrina enlightens him like, yes, yeah, he did. And he didn't feel no ways about it. And going back to work and mind your business, basically. So Aaron and Gary shows up after this interaction. Aaron and Gary show up at the bank, and they're looking for Andy. Well, Sabrina doesn't know at this point that Andy's on the way to the bank to withdraw the money that she had just put in the bank that belongs to Gary. Okay? So Aaron and Gary are at the bank, and Gary's just like, I need my money. Where's she at? She not here. Blah, blah, blah. And Sabrina's like, well, I don't know, but let me call her. And then he's just getting upset. He's getting real worked up in his spirit. Oh, I'm finna go because she ain't even here. Her friend don't even know she's supposed to be coming. Like, he's just giving a whole lot of vibrato that I don't have time for at this point. Because, sir, if you had just almost killed me the night before, you had needed to be on your best behavior, because the next time I saw you, you'd have been Swiss cheese. You would have been Swiss cheese. And that's all I'm going to say. All right. So Sabrina goes in the office and calls Andy. Andy claims that she'll explain everything when she gets there, but she's on the way. She's within minutes of being there. All right, Andy on the way. Wonderful. And so Karen shows up before Andy gets there because they left at different times. And Sabrina is getting upset because, yet again, Karen and Andy are holding out, and they haven't given her all the details, even though they have to come to her workplace to work out said details. Again, as I mentioned in another episode, the friend girl group dynamics and how some people, it's just a natural thing when people click up and they form subsets inside of the larger group. The grander scheme of things, it don't really matter all that much. But Sabrina, we ain't got time to be in that feelings. We got another fight to put out, and we'll talk about that later. But anyway, yeah, so she calls Danny and tells Danny everything, and she was like, well, you need to come to the bank too, because everybody coming here, ain't nobody told us nothing, so we gonna all do this together. Just come on by on your way to work. Boom. So now Danny is on her way to the bank as well. All right, so getting to the climax of the episode, Karen pulls Aaron to the side. Okay, Karen pulls Aaron to the side before Andy and everybody else Andy and Danny gets there, and she tells him, like, why are you here, basically in support of him, blah, blah, blah. I'm finna go tell him how I feel about how he treated my homegirl, blah, blah. And Aaron's like, no, just chill, let's just get to the situation. Just chill out. Appreciate it. Because if I was Karen, I would have wanted to get some things off my heart as well. Because what you're not gonna do is almost kill my friend. Boom. And I'm not gonna say nothing to you. One. Two, Aaron, I appreciate it because you diffused the situation because it could have got hostile. Because what was gonna happen is Gary's gonna say something to me and I'm gonna say something back, and now we in here scrapping at the bank. You know what I mean? So I appreciate Aaron diffusing the situation and just being like, no, you just sit over here and you wait for your homegirl. I'm gonna be over here with him just to make sure nothing go down. We're gonna get through this peacefully and we're gonna go on about our business. Hopefully that is the case. So now Maurice is coming from behind the counter because he want to know what's going on, and we know he knows you. Sabrina tells me, y'all go back to work, mind your business, blah, blah, blah. So all of this is getting real messy to me because there's a whole lot of people, there's a whole lot of hands in the pots, and we need to get this over with because you at my job. If I was Sabrina, I almost lost my job by way of moving this money and not figuring out what was going on with you, Andy, initially. Now I'm back in here with even more money tied up in your situation, and all y'all is at my job hashing the shout. Can we talk about this outside? Can we talk about this at another bank? Because it's a lot. So Andy finally gets there. She's trying to kind of brief the girls, but Gary's kind of pushing up on them, like, okay, I need my money. Where my money at? Don't be playing that, like just doing a whole lot. So she can't explain the situation. So, whatever. They diffuse that situation yet again. Danny arrives and the girls go off and they want answers like everybody else wants answers from Andy. And she tells the girls, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help her God. And she lets them know, like, she has a bruised rib from Gary squeezing her. Exactly. Attempted murder. You're trying to kill me. Because if you crush my ribs, I can't breathe. Duh. Simple chemistry, physics. Simple anatomy. That's what it is. That's simple anatomy. So she has a bruised rib, so now everybody's like, oh my God, like, girl, you in the situation again, basically. Everybody's countenance at this point is like, girl, you back in the situation yet again with another guy? Like, girl, get it together. And so Sabrina tells her that once this is over, you can't see him no more. You got to be done with the situation. And if for Sabrina to be speaking up, we know that it's serious because Sabrina doesn't say anything. We also get to the actual dollar amount in this scene, and we learned that the amount of money that Gary sent to her in that box was $250,000. $250,000. Sir, you finna get how much back? None. I'll give you $2,000 for your payment to serve. I wouldn't give you nothing, actually. I wouldn't give you a goddamn thing. The $250,000 is gonna heal my bruised rib, my ego, and everything else I lost in the situation. I'm not giving you nothing. But all right, cool. If the money stops him from harassing you, potentially give him his money, let him go be by himself. So we learned it's $250,000, and then Danny grabs the bag of money. She's like, I ain't giving money back. So now they over here playing with Danny, trying to get this money back. Because she was like, child, I don't want to give it back to him, but we talked Danny off the ledge. All right. So Andy, she kind of half-ass agrees with Sabrina, like she's done, but she can't really verbalize that she's gonna be done with him when this is all over with. So that's gonna be a sign of foreshadowing of, she ain't gonna be completely done with Gary after all this shit. And I can probably bet money on that, but we'll see. So yeah, Danny tells her, the problem is that she fell in love, but that she's still in love with someone that abused her, which coincides with what Karen said as well. So Sabrina tells him, at this point, none of it even matters. It ain't even about none of them men. We done been through this before. What we need to do is get back to the promise that we made to ourselves, about not allowing men to continue to treat us this way, or not allowing ourselves to be treated this way. It's a promise that they made to themselves in the past. This is the thing with the promise. That's cool. That's cute or whatever. Y'all girls can have a little pact and do what you want. But the thing with promises is they can't be kept with unwilling participants. Hear me out. We made a girl group pact. We ain't gonna let these men do us a certain kind of way, blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop. But if the pact is only true for half of the group, there's nothing you can do. For example, Andy agreed. Yeah, she probably, Piggy sweared into the promise, but she went back and did the same thing. So yes, we can make a promise, we can try to hold each other to it, but if she is not willing to uphold their promise to not only herself but to the friend girl group, there's nothing y'all can do. So just keep that in the back of your mind, people. When y'all making these promises to people, you can't fulfill the promise by yourself. That's basically what I wanted to say right there. All right, so they go back outside, put their game face on, go give Gary the money. And she tells him it's all there, minus about $3,000. She had already been peeling off. She had already started spending. Listen, most of it is there. 50, 49, 49, 47. You got about $247,000. That should be good enough for you to start your new life. Go ahead. Just leave me alone. All of it's there except about $3,000. I had to use it. Whatever. So, Gary wants to give this grand speech before he leaves the bank. He tells her, he's cramming his love, and he should have ended things with Jasmine before, and all of the stuff wouldn't have happened, and blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop. He gives a compelling speech about now having wisdom and wishing he could take it all back. And the thing about indiscretions or things you've done to people, you can't take them back, but it's TV land. Let's just talk it out, right? He wishes he can take it back and claims he's sorry about all of it. And, he gives that speech. He puts that on her spirit and he walks away. And after he's gone, Andy just breaks down in tears, and she says, if I heard it correctly, she says that she don't got this. Like she don't think she can stay away from him. She don't think she can stay away from Gary. And as much as I want to say Andy is just dumb as all hell, I feel bad for Andy. Because as smart as she is and as accomplished as she is and beautiful and deserving and all of these wonderful things we can say to describe her, I'm just applying this to a situation I know with somebody else. As much as I've given this person the conversations about what they deserve and what they shouldn't allow and what they shouldn't take, until she makes up in her mind that this is not what she is willing to accept, Andy's going to keep going back to Gary. And if not Gary, it's going to be Gary's. It's going to be some form of Gary. So, as much as Karen and everybody else wants to come to her defense and help her and save her and help her through it, she has to make up her mind. And as of this episode, she has not. She has not gone through enough to be done with Gary. I'm 100% sure she's still going to see him in the coming episode. She's not done. She hasn't wiped her hands of the situation. So that is unfortunate, but it's a part of the series, and we're just gonna go with it for TV's sake. In the real world, it doesn't work out so clean. People end up losing their lives and end up losing their livelihoods and all of these other types of things by way of not being able to walk away. So I guess that would be the lesson here. And yeah. So that was it for episode 12, season 2, episode 12 of Sistas, the mid-season finale. So I will see. Wait a minute. In the preview, Hayden confronts Fatima. Sir, mind your business, okay? Now, if you see this video, you might not never see the video. But whoever, mind your business. You can't be doing all this from a one-night stand, sir. Relax. And it also showed a preview about some charges coming up on Karen's credit card that Zach put on there. I just hope that's a minor misunderstanding and that was something that happened when they were still together and not currently, because, sir, I don't want her to have to come confront you where you're at and then end up seeing Fatima and that being a whole fiasco. I could see that happening. So this video is long enough. That has been it. Let me know your comments, thoughts, concerns, rants or whatever in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you feel like doing. And that's it. So I'll see y'all when it comes back at the end of January. That's all I got. So I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.